My name is Aisha, a girl born and raised in a small town, someone simple by nature. Carrying within me a heart full of innocent dreams and unspoken fears, and at the age of 22, I stepped into a new chapter of life, a chapter every girl both anticipates and dreads, the journey of marriage. And though outwardly, I smiled on my wedding day with everyone around me celebrating, inside me there was a storm of emotions swirling with equal parts hope and anxiety, because, like every young bride, I too had long carried fragile dreams of what it would mean to be loved, to be seen, to be touched with gentleness, to feel special in the eyes of the one I would call my husband. To experience not just romance, but a bond where I would be cherished, respected, and valued as someone truly important. Yet at the same time, along with those tender dreams, there lingered shadows of fear, the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of that very first night that every girl is told so much about but can never quite imagine until it happens. For I had heard countless stories from cousins, from close friends, and even through casual voices in random YouTube videos where some spoke of unbearable pain. Others described magical joy. Some girls confessed they had cried uncontrollably, while others laughed nervously as if it were nothing at all. And I was left caught between all those contradictory experiences, not knowing which one would mirror my own reality. So when the day of my wedding finally came, it passed before my eyes like a blur of colors and sounds, a whirlwind of smiling faces, camera flashes, heartfelt prayers, tearful goodbyes, and the heavy weight of leaving behind the home where I had spent my entire life, my parents' arms releasing me, even as their eyes clung to me with love. And I stepped forward with feet that felt heavy as stone and a heart even heavier, aching with both sorrow and anticipation. And when I reached my husband's home, the place that was now supposed to be mine, the family welcomed me with warmth, kindness, and generous smiles, yet deep inside I was trembling, nervous in a way I could not disguise. My lips were dry no matter how often I pressed them together, my palms cold though the room was warm, my body shaking under the surface even while I kept up the practiced smile for all to see. And once the crowd slowly faded, the laughter of relatives died down, and the house grew quieter with the departure of the last guests. I was gently led into the room prepared for us, our bridal chamber, where the bed was beautifully decorated with red roses, scattered like symbols of love, and the soft fragrance of perfume mixed with a sweet scent I could not identify hanging heavy in the air, and there I sat silently on the edge of the bed, lowering my eyes, listening to the rapid drumming of my own heartbeat echoing in my chest like a loud reminder of my nervousness, my hands resting in my lap but trembling slightly, my mind unable to think straight, every thought colliding with the next. Until at last the sound of the door creaking open pulled me into the moment, and though I dared not look up, I knew instantly that it was him, my husband, the man to whom I had been tied just hours earlier in front of God and family, yet who still felt like a stranger to me. And as he walked slowly into the room and closed the door behind him, my breath grew shallow, my heart pounded faster, and my lips pressed tightly together while every part of me felt both anxious and exposed. I could sense his footsteps drawing closer, but fear made me keep my eyes lowered. And then he sat down beside me on the bed, though keeping a careful distance. A pause stretched between us, filled with silence. And in that quietness, instead of touching me or rushing forward as I had half expected, he spoke in a voice so calm and gentle that it instantly softened the tension in the room, telling me, "Aisha, I know this is not easy for you. I won't force anything tonight. I just want to talk first." And those words spoken in that tone felt like warm tea on a cold winter evening, soothing my anxious heart. And for the first time, I dared to lift my head and look properly at him, and what I saw was not a man eager to claim possession of his bride, but rather a boyish, nervous smile. A look filled not with dominance, but with care, as if he were afraid of frightening a fragile bird perched on his hand. And that gave me a strange sense of peace, even a budding respect. and when he reached to offer me a glass of water, our fingers brushed lightly. A fleeting touch that sent a wave of electricity rushing across my skin, making my cheeks warm with an unfamiliar blush, and once again I lowered my gaze shyly. But his small chuckle broke the tension as he said softly, "You don't have to be so shy. I'm not going to eat you." And that little joke coaxed the first real smile from me that night. A small one, but powerful enough to crack the invisible wall between us, and then he began talking in a lighthearted way, sharing silly stories, embarrassing little moments of his life, even admitting how scared he had felt before opening the door. And that honesty surprised me because I had never imagined that men too could be nervous on their wedding night. Yet his openness was genuine, and slowly, gradually, my fear began to melt like ice under sunlight. And then after one of those pauses, that feel full of meaning, he looked directly into my eyes and asked in the most respectful tone, "Can I hold your hand?" And I nodded, hesitant but willing, and when his hand closed around mine, it was both firm and gentle, warm and steady, holding me not with aggression but with tenderness, as though my hand was something precious, as though I myself was precious. And that simple gesture quickened my heartbeat again. But now the flutter was not fear, but a sweet, unfamiliar excitement, especially when I felt his thumb tracing lightly over the back of my hand, such a small movement, yet so deeply intimate and personal that it awakened new feelings inside me. And still he did not rush. Instead, leaning a little closer and saying, "I will not do anything tonight unless you are ready. I want you to feel safe with me, not frightened of me." And hearing those words, I suddenly felt my eyes fill with tears. And though I did not even understand exactly why, whether it was relief or gratitude or the overwhelming kindness in his approach, I knew it touched me deeply. Perhaps because I had built up so many fears in my imagination, expecting pain or pressure. But instead, here was a man showing me care unlike anything I had expected. And when he reached up and gently wiped away my tears with his fingertips, the softness of that touch against my cheek made me close my eyes. Not because of shyness, but because it was so tender, so new, so filled with care rather than lust. And then slowly he leaned down and pressed a kiss upon my forehead, lingering there, warm and gentle. And that kiss spoke of soul rather than body, of reassurance rather than desire, and in that moment I realized that real intimacy begins not with physical closeness, but with emotional safety. And when he whispered softly, "We have our whole life together, Aisha. Let tonight be the beginning of love, not of pressure," I felt something inside me settle peacefully. And as we lay down side by side, his arm wrapped around me and my head resting upon his chest, I could hear the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, slow and strong. And that sound became like a lullaby of security to me, making me feel more safe than I ever had before. And though we did not rush into wild passion, though we did nothing reckless, that night overflowed with a kind of loving connection deeper than anything I had imagined, because he held me gently, kissed my hair softly, ran his fingers lightly down my arm, and when at last he leaned forward to kiss my lips, I did not turn away. I let it happen, because by then I trusted him and felt ready. And though the kiss was new, awkward at first, it was also tender, slow, and beautiful. Not perfect, but real, and being real was more precious than being flawless. Because that night was not merely about fulfilling the role of husband and wife. It was about beginning a journey of care, of respect, of genuine love, and even now when I look back, I smile. Not because of what exactly happened, but because of how it all happened. Because my first night became not a story of fear, but of comfort. Not of pressure, but of connection. A reminder that the first night belongs equally to the hearts as to the bodies, and I consider myself blessed that my husband understood that truth. And so to every girl, I want to say your first night is yours. It should be about safety, ease, and trust. And to every man, I say, be that kind of partner who makes her feel safe and seen, because true love begins with kindness. And if you want to support and hear more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pro English Stories, and thank you for listening with love.